places like UCLA, when it happens, Columbia, NYU, Harvard, while yes, they're places that would never welcome someone like me, they are sadly important for a society because that's where our CEOs come from. You know, that's where our senators come from. Societal leaders go through these elite schools. How could we as Americans be so asleep at the wheel that we allow these institutions to turn into the dirty jockstrap where we filter all of our leaders in society through? How could we be asleep for so long?
You know, the question that I want to ask is whether these universities are actually as important as we think they are. If you think about it, they train kids for jobs that don't even exist anymore and we don't even need. You have professors who have very little life experience. Frankly, I rather have you teach my kids than many of these professors. And so do we really need them? Are they really the beacons of our society? Is it really a place where we can send our children and trust that they're going to get skills that are going to help them live a happier, better, more successful life? The answer has been no. You know, interesting, I have a friend who graduated from an Ivy League college, and she is very, very seriously thinking about suing this Ivy League college for destroying its reputation because she spent so much money on actually going to this college. And she's saying they're actively allowing these colleges to be just a complete disgrace. She's embarrassed to put the name of this college on her resume. So I think that we need to take a deep look at these organizations and realize that they're rotten to their core, and they may not exactly be that important to our culture and our society anymore. We might have to come up with a new roadmap for our children so that they go to institutions that actually do support our values and do protect our rights and celebrate Americanism, not teach anti-Americanism.
Okay, along those lines, on a macro level, isn't that happening and isn't it good news? PragerU's never been bigger. The reputation of Harvard has never been worse. Obviously, these things don't happen as fast as you or I would like them to happen, but they are losing credibility, right? And people are seeking out alternate sources. There's never been more homeschooling. Many trends in education are going our direction, right?
You would hope so. You'd hope that people are going to wake up. We are seeing people waking up. As you mentioned, more people are homeschooled. I mean, some people are just so attached to these institutions that it's going to take them a moment. Sure, there's a silver lining. I mean, nobody emerges from hell empty-handed. And so these organizations have gone so far off the deep end that Americans who are paying attention are saying what I'm saying. Hey, I may not send my kids to these colleges. I may send them to a trade school so that they actually get something tangible that they can actually make money and have a career with, as opposed to a diet of left-wing garbage. So yes, I do think that there is a silver lining in it, but organizations like ours, PragerU, could not be busier than ever before because we're trying to wake up as many Americans as possible before they send their kids into Lion's Den. And I'll tell you, the concern with the colleges is the anti-Americanism, anti-Israel, which is an ally of the United States, anti-Semitism, but it's not just that. It's the steady diet of victimhood and left-wing garbage that kids are getting for 4 years. You ask CEOs like me around the country, and you will hear that we are getting graduates from these colleges that are, frankly, many of them can't work. They're so focused on themselves. They're weak, they're fragile. If you say anything to them that is offensive, they crawl into a ball. And so, what do you do with a workforce that comes out of a 4-year indoctrination center that just tells them how to seek the victim within themselves?
In what way are parents changing, and are they changing for the better? And I asked this for this reason. I was at a party this weekend, just neighborhood party, standard boring crap. It was video or games and beers and burgers, that kind of crap. And there were a lot of parents, all teenage kids, graduating soon. And there was still a lot of bragging, subtle suburban bragging about where Aiden, Jaden, and Braden were going to get to go to college. And I don't generally pipe in there. Everyone knows what I do, so I just keep my mouth shut. But I was sitting there watching these people brag about this one kid was getting into Stanford, and I was thinking, do they know? Do they know and not care? Do they think it's not real? Do parents really not know how bad it's gotten?
I think America in general knows. But if you're talking about rich elitists that live in a bubble where all of this stuff doesn't impact them because they have connections where even if their kids learn nothing for 4 years, they're going to land them a job somewhere or inherit a bucket load of money, for them, it doesn't have that much of an impact. Most Americans need to send their kids to a school where they can actually come up with a trade and a tangible way to earn a living later on. So this is another one of those typical examples where there is a huge disconnect between America and American kids and the elitists that go to these parties and don't really realize what is actually going on, because what is happening doesn't impact them as much, right? If you're a middle class and lower, these things will really impact you. If you come out with no skill and idiotic ideas, that's going to really harm you for the rest of your life. If you're going to have a trust fund from your parents and you're effectively a loser and it doesn't even matter what you do, then it may not impact you as much. And so I think, it really comes down to the fact that some people live in a bubble, and so they don't even bother to see the destruction of America. It doesn't impact them as much. You can see that with the public schools. Take the public schools. How many wealthy people care really about what is happening in the public schools? How many of them are paying attention to the fact that the standards of education have been lowered every single year in the name of DEI or equity, right? Like, can you imagine a CEO running a business and saying, well, this year we're not going to meet our standards. And in order to meet the standards, you know what we're going to do, my friend? We're going to lower the standards. And that way we will meet the standards. That is basically what education in public schools in America has been, right? It's like, let's make some sort of reason why we need to lower the standards and expect less of American students so that we can claim that we're successful. But, the wealthy that send their kids to elite private schools and have tutors, et cetera, that kind of garbage policy doesn't impact them as much. And I think that these things will start impacting more and more elitists, because now we are starting to see actual violence, right? Once you start seeing actual violence, then the elitists are going to start realizing, wait a second, my neighborhood, that fancy school that I'm sending my kids to is scary. It's scary, right? I'm spending all this money to send them there, but now they're also not safe. And hopefully this is going to be this silver lining and moment in time where Americans, both the wealthy and the poor, come together and say, let's defend America, okay? Let's defend America. Let's defend Western civilization values. We've all come here for a reason if we're immigrants. We love this country. If we were born here, we're dedicated to our country, which we love. Let's defend America together. Maybe this is the hardship that we need to go through as Americans, to realize that we need to reclaim our organizations, specifically the educational organizations that have been attacking us from within.